Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a book haul for you today, which is a little surprising. I say surprising because I had no idea I had managed to accumulate so many books over the last month or so. Yeah, I've got 14 books to tell you about, so I'm just going to get started. And the first book I wanted to mention is A Madness So Discreet by Mindy McGinnis. For those of you who watched my Owl Box unboxing video, you know this was their October pick for Halloween. I was super duper, incredibly, kind of embarrassingly excited to get this book because I had heard really great things about it and I loved the cover. I actually attempted to start reading this book, got about 50 pages into it, and unfortunately, it's not as good as I was hoping. But I will give it another try. Maybe I just wasn't in the right frame of mind when I tried to tackle it, but yeah. All right, next up is two books by the same author. The first one being Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Earlier in the month, I read the first two books in the series, and I was not very happy with the way the second book ended. So I won't be reading the rest of the books in the series right now, but I will continue on, and I love the covers of these books. They're so gorgeous. Yes. I also picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses. Why is that so hard for me to say? I have no idea. I've heard really, really, really excellent things about this book, even from people who don't like the Throne of Glass series. So I'm really excited to read this one. Enjoy while I molest the book covers. All right, so the next two books are also by the same author. And the first one is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I sampled this book on my Kindle, and I thought it sounded incredible, and I loved the writing style, so I decided to give her another shot. This is a very unique book. It's about all different kinds of Londons, and there's this guy who sort of smuggles things from one London to another, and he's got this coat that is not a two-sided coat, is a multi-sided coat, and depending on what London he goes to, he turns his coat inside out several times. And that's a really terrible description of this book, but I'm sure most of you know and have heard about it. But I am super excited to read it. It sounds really great, and I loved the sample that I tried. So the next book I got was Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I could be wrong because I don't know a whole lot about this book, but I think it's about superheroes, or rather supervillains. And I find that idea quite interesting, and the cover is quite menacing looking, so I might actually read this one before A Darker Shade of Magic. Marie Lu and the Young Elites. And the second book, which just came out, called The Rose Society. I am a huge fan of Marie Lu. I think she's fantastic. I love her Legend series. It is mainly about the villain, and I don't think I've ever really read a book, or maybe I have and I'm just not remembering, where the main character is actually the villain. And I find that to be very, very interesting. And plus, I've heard nothing but fantastic things about both of these books, so I am super, super, super excited to read both of them. These next two books I managed to pick up for $2 a piece. The first one is Half Bad by Sally Green. I believe the second book in this series is out, and all I know about it is that it's a YA dystopian, and a lot of my bookish friends really, really liked it. And the second book I picked up for $2 at the really nasty store is The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker. And all I know about this book, I've actually heard a lot. I remember when it first came out that it was getting really good reviews. It's about the small town, and they find out that a meteor is getting ready to strike, and everybody sort of freaks out and starts wondering if they're going to die, and chaos ensues in a sort of sedated small town kind of way. So when I made my trip to the bookstore last weekend, I went there for one book, and I left with like 8 or 9. But this was the book that I actually went to the bookstore to buy. At least I didn't forget to get it while I was there. And it is probably one of my most highly anticipated reads in a while, and it is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Just look at the majesty of this cover. It is so gorgeous, and not only is the cover gorgeous, it's got black pages. And I know that this takes place in the Grisha world, though it's not really technically connected with the Grisha trilogy. This this book takes place after the Grisha trilogy, but I am so dying to read this book that I have to make myself read the Grisha trilogy first, because I am anal retentive that way. I have to read books in order or it drives me crazy. It messes with my OCD. All right, so the next book you've already heard me talk about and gush about, but since I just got it a few days ago, I decided I would include it in this video, and it is Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, Illumine. This book is fantastic. It is, at the moment, my favorite book of 2015, hands down. It is a 600-page book that I read in less than a day. It is made up of documents and emails and surveillance summaries and all kinds of awesomeness, and it's brilliant, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, and this is, as if you can't tell up here, it's a signed version of it, and there you go. It says, this limited signed first edition of Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson has been specially bound in human skin. So yeah, I love this book. It's fantastic. I love Rory, the taxidermied raccoon. Jenny Lawson is also known as the Bloggess, and she has been a blogger for a really long time, and I followed her blog as well as following her on Twitter for years, and she's always been really, really, really funny. And this book is just freaking hysterical, and books very rarely ever make me laugh out loud. This book did all the time, but also it's incredibly heartbreaking and emotional because in this book she deals with her battles with anxiety and depression and various other issues. I've had my own struggles with anxiety and depression over my life. I just love it. It's done so well, and I love Jenny Lawson. She is my spirit animal. So I also ended up picking up Let's Pretend This Never Happened, a mostly true memoir also by Jenny Lawson. Okay, you guys, I saved what could possibly be the best for last, at least in my opinion. I have wanted this book for a while, and I'm sitting here and I'm petting it off camera because I love it so much. And I'm one chapter into it, and I love it so much already. But it just arrived yesterday, and it is Welcome to Nightvale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner. Okay, so really quickly, or as quickly as I can, Welcome to Nightvale, for those of you who do not know, started out and continues as a podcast, which is structured like a half-hour news broadcast from this little desert town where every single conspiracy theory known to man is real, and the residents of this town just accept them. And there's all these very unique characters, like the fact that the mayor is a 5-headed dragon, and there is a faceless old woman who lives in your house, and there's a dog park, a newly opened dog park, which has these massive black walls surrounding it, and it is forbidden to enter the dog park by humans and animals, and it's just all kinds of insane brilliance. That's what the podcast is, and this is the first book based on the podcast. Now, I have to explain something to you. I sort of discovered the Nightvale podcast relatively recently, but I've become obsessed with it. And when I found out there was a book, I immediately put it on pre-order. And I have to say, I was a little nervous to figure out how they were going to pull off doing a book, because the entire podcast is it's structured, like I said, as a news broadcast. So it features the incredible speaking voice of Cecil Baldwin. And, in book form, Cecil wouldn't be there. So I was kind of worried. But I've read one freaking chapter of this book, and already I know it's going to be as good as the podcast, and very, 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 very special. So, now I'm petting the book on camera. And the thing about Nightvale is that, it's ridiculous and over the top and weird, much in the way of, like, the biggest influence for these guys was Twin Peaks, which I absolutely loved and I grew up with. And it's kind of like a combination of Twin Peaks and the X-Files and just really absurd comedy, but there's also mixed in with really emotional, sweet, heartbreaking, profound statements. And it's impossible to try and describe what Nightvale is. You just have to experience it yourself. Okay, guys, that's my book haul. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave me some love, people, and I will continue to slowly read Welcome to Nightvale and let you know how it turns out. I will talk with you later, guys. Happy reading.